Gold and myrrh they took there, gifts of greatest price. There was never a stable so like paradise. I think the first thing we have to address is the elephant in the room when we think of the three gifts. In this part, this stanza, there's no frankincense. There's gold and myrrh. Now, part of this comes from the fact this was not written in English. It was written first in French and then later translated. And that means some changes were made. And part of it is all the verses were not translated. Now, I didn't go back and look through old French verses, in part because I also do not know French. But that could be an explanation that it was just taken out in translation because it didn't fit. Or it was in another part that was cut out. But we do need to remember what frankincense is. And it's traditionally used as an offering to God in the Old Testament. It was not something that everyone used, but had a ritual and very symbolic meaning. And it's a gift that does show Christ's divinity. The other two gifts were meaningful as well. Gold is an obvious gift. It has a value that we easily understand. And gold is something one would bring to a king. But we can look at this with different eyes as well. What do we give to the government, to the rulers? Cash, money, earthly wealth? It is something that we owe through taxes as citizens and residents and so forth of this land. We owe it to pay for services that are needed. Wealth is owed to the ruler, yes. And by bringing gold to Christ, we see the recognition that Christ is the king. And also a little bit about us. Myrrh is also a gift that has meaning. Myrrh is used in an anointing oil with a distinct, pleasant smell. Tradition states that myrrh was used to anoint Christ's body after the crucifixion. In this, we often see the gift as one foretelling the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ. But that's not the only thing we see in this. Myrrh was common to anoint people with in the Old Testament as well, especially in the temple. So we can also see the ritualistic role here. And this is something that Paul notes later, when he noted that Christ was a priest in the order of Melchizedek. The myrrh is also symbolic not just of the future death and crucifixion, but also a reflection of Christ's holy priesthood, not by familiar lines, but through his divinity. In many ways, we see that the meaning and symbolism in these gifts is important, because in these we see who Christ is and who he is for all the world.